Hello, my friend, from my home to yours. All the very, very best. I know that many of you are going through some very tough times, and if that's you today, I hope you'll hang around and perhaps receive a word of encouragement, something that might lift your spirits, especially those of you who find yourselves heavy-hearted, missing somebody for whom you have such a deep love. I'd like to share a story with you about a beautiful family who also went through a very devastating time and how God's promise of ultimate restoration got them through it. The McCombs were the picture of the all-American family. 2 young, beautiful children, a terrific marriage. Jonathan worked ranches. Laura sold pharmaceuticals. They were God-fearing, happy, busy, and carefree. But then came the storm. Rain was in the forecast, but a once-in-a-century flood, no one saw it coming. The Blanco River rose 28 feet in just 90 minutes. And it roared through the South Texas hill country, not far from where I live, taking homes, taking cars, taking bridges. Jonathan and his family sought safety on the second floor of the cabin in which they were staying. But safety was nowhere to be found. The house was yanked off of its foundation. They found themselves clutching a mattress, riding the white water. Jonathan survived, but no one else did. When my wife Deanlin and I visited him in the hospital, he could hardly move from the pain. But the broken ribs and the broken hip were nothing in comparison with his broken heart. Jonathan tried to talk, but he mustered only tears. A couple of weeks later, he found the strength to speak at the funeral for his wife and his 2 children. It seemed like the entire city of Corpus Christi, Texas, was present in the church. I mean, the church had no empty seats, and the church had no dry eyes. For well more than half an hour, Jonathan described his wife. He described his children. He spoke of their laughter, his love, their joy, and how empty his house had become. He kindly allowed me to share a portion of his message in my new book, Begin Again. He said these words: "People have been asking me how I am doing and how I can stay so strong and positive in a time like this. I have told them that I have been leaning on my family, my faith, and most importantly, my faith. After church every Sunday, Laura would always ask, how do we get more people to come to church and learn about salvation? Well, Laura, what do you think? They're here. A particular verse that I have loved over the years has also helped me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. I have no explanation for why such a tragic event like the flood takes place and lives are lost. But I know that God is not going to give us anything that we can't handle. And I know that we're here for a little while. But trust me, if I could have every bone broken in my body to have them back, I would do it. But it is not our call. Yes, I know this entire tragedy is horrible. And I have been angry. I have been upset. I have been confused. And I have been left to wonder why. And I have cried enough tears to fill up that river 100 times. But I know I can't stay angry or upset or confused or continue to ask myself why. because I will find out that answer when my time comes and I am reunited with them in heaven. But trust me, that will be the first question I ask. I took note of the number of times that Jonathan used the phrase, I know. He said, I know that God is not going to give us anything we can't handle. He said, I know that we're here for a little while. I know that this entire tragedy is horrible. I know that we will be united with them in heaven. You know, Jonathan was not being naive. He wasn't being dismissive. He didn't react with superficial, shallow belief. The tragedy was horrible. But in the midst of the storm, he found hope. He held on to what he knew. He found an unshakable hope. He found no easy answers, but he found the answer. And he made the deliberate decision to build his life on God's promise to restore and renew. Now, some of you may relate to Jonathan's loss, and you've had to say goodbye too soon. And the word goodbye is the challenge of your life to get through this, is to get through this raging loneliness, this strength-draining grief. You sleep alone in a double bed, you walk hallways of a silent house, and you catch yourself calling out his name or reaching for her hand. And the separation has exhausted your spirit. Maybe the rest of the world has moved on. You ache to do the same, but you can't. You just can't say goodbye. Be kind to yourself, friend. You know, death just takes so much. We bury not just a body, but what? The wedding that never happened, the golden years that we never knew. We bury dreams. But hear me, please. In heaven, those dreams will come true. God has promised a restoration of all things. That's in Acts 3 and verse 21. All things. And all things includes relationships. Our final home will hear no goodbyes. We will speak of the good book. We will remember the good faith. But goodbye, that word will be gone forever. For today, please just take hold of God's ultimate promise to restore and renew all things. Let God's promise change you. Let this promise give you a renewed vision for your life. And to the degree that you accept God's vision, you'll get through this. You'll get through any circumstance. And you'll go from sagging to seeking, from mournful to hopeful, from dwelling on goodbyes to anticipating hellos. Friend, please take hold of this sustaining hope, the hope that death is not the end, and let this hope re-energize your spirit today as you begin again.